Project 44 is the official sponsor of the Innovation Theater at Edge 23. We thank Project 44 for their continued support of CSCMP.
Well, hello, my name is Colin Mansfield. I am Company VP at Yard Management Solutions. Today we're going to be talking about the key to supply chain success, which is in fact effective yard management. You know, the supply chain is an apt name, right? Individual links, every piece must be strong, and each year it does get stronger, both in terms of hardware and in terms of software. You've got robotics, you've got automation, transportation management systems, warehouse management systems, ERP systems, and end-to-end visibility systems as well. But what if I told you that there was an area that had been left behind? What if I told you that thousands, if not tens of thousands of organizations are leaving money on the table every year? Effective yard management. It's the area between the gate and the dock doors of any facility, a plant, distribution warehouse, distribution center warehouse, could even be a drop yard for containers. Now, how do I know this? Well, my bosses several years ago, Jeff and Margaret, were actually at a large vehicle manufacturer in North America. This was a company that was using advanced robotics inside to build vehicles. But on the yard, when they took a tour, what they found was that this company was actually taking sticky notes. They were writing on where that trailer should go, and they were putting them on the windshield of these trucks coming in. And these things literally were just floating off into the breeze. It's crazy. The technology chasm in the yard is so vast, and the needs of organizations are so misunderstood, that the go-to advanced form of trailer tracking is putting a sensor on every vehicle that enters the yard and then taking it off when it leaves. Huge implementation cost. And honestly, very little creativity from a solution standpoint. And if you don't believe me, you can take out your phone, you can Google yard management system. What you're going to find, if you go to the pictures section, is that there's really only a couple screenshots of actual software, and one of those is going to be for my companies. The technological gap is very, very real. Now, companies who choose to prioritize effective yard management reap instant results. For example, Michelin, one of our customers, experienced $2.5 million in reduced detention fees at one facility in 1 year. Another facility, $450,000 in reduced detention fees, one facility, 1 year. One of Michelin's top 3 goals is sustainability, reducing their carbon footprint. And I think we can all aspire and should aspire to that goal. Now, when they came on as a customer, we did not tell them, hey, you guys are we're going to help you go green. But what they found after utilizing the system was a 30% reduction in jockey driver travel distance at their facilities, which they're directly linking to reduce carbon footprint. The truth is that ignoring effective yard management puts your company in unnecessary danger, but prioritizing it unlocks the key to supply chain success. You know, I like to say that today's shipping yards really run on 7 things: emails, phone calls, spreadsheets, radios, and blood, sweat, and tears. I've spoken with hundreds of operations looking to improve yard management, and what I've found is that they all share something in common, which is that none of them are bad at managing their operation. In fact, quite the opposite. They're very, very good at yard management. The problem is that they're so good, their organization is growing so rapidly that they're outgrowing those manual processes that got them to where they are. Those could be manual processes like spreadsheets, radios, emails, but that could also be an existing system that just isn't cutting it anymore because of the manual requirements. We're big believers that modern shipping yards deserve modern software that streamlines their operation, and of course we believe that the solution is effective yard management. But what does that mean? What does that word effective mean? I'll tell you, software that does not treat the yard as an afterthought, not a bolt-on, not a nice-to-have solution, but a solution that laser targets the yard as something worth investing in and worth saving money in. A system that incorporates each of the yard's functional areas: appointments, gate check-in and check-out, jockey management, dock scheduling, as well as yard checks. You know, for example, I was speaking with a company earlier this year, and what they were doing was manual yard checks. Talk about yard checks. They were going out they were spending about 2 hours a shift on yard checks. And that was an hour walking around the yard with a piece of paper, writing down what trailers were in the yard, and then about an hour, half an hour to an hour, going back into the office and translating that onto a spreadsheet. So call it 2 hours a shift, 3 shifts a day, 6 hours a day, paying their employees about $22.50 an hour. You do the math, that's almost 50 grand a year spent just walking around, right? About 2,100 hours. But what if they didn't have to do that? Instead, what if they could just glance at a screen? One of our customers, Cold in the Netherlands, saw these results. And what they were doing is they're a cold storage operation, a freezer operation, and so their employees that are working inside the warehouse are wearing winter jackets and boots, and if they had to walk out into the yard, which they were doing several times a day, multiple people, is they would have to take off their boots, put on shoes, take off their jacket, put on a normal coat, walk out, find the trailer, come back, do it all over again. As soon as they implemented a yard management system, 40-minute reduction in time to find trailer in the yard per trailer, 40-minute reduction. And by the way, this is one of the reasons that what I would call a sensor-based system, a system that utilizes tags, RFID, GPS, some sort of tagging solution, is not ideal, because the reality is that you're going to have to put a tag on every vehicle, whether you own it or not. And what a lot of those systems won't tell you is that you're still having to do yard checks. You're still having to walk around. You're still having to validate the location. So let's talk about the components of effective yard management. We're going to take this as a cycle and kind of look at each of these briefly. These are what we call the functional areas of the yard. And it kind of all starts with appointments at the top there. So we're going to start there. A great and effective yard management system is going to allow an organization to plan ahead, both inbound appointments as well as outbound appointments. But here's the deal, is that most operations already have some sort of appointment schedule, whether that's through a tool like a TMS or through some sort of other bespoke appointment scheduling tool. And so for that reason, the best yard management systems integrate easily with other systems that are in use. It's got to integrate, and it's got to be a great out-of-the-box solution. Now, when appointments arrive, they got to be checked into the facility. So effective yard management systems provide capabilities for both manned as well as unmanned gate scenarios. When we say manned, what we're talking about is a guard shack, a gatehouse where folks are actually there and they're checking in those trailers, checking them out. An unmanned scenario could look like a kiosk on the outside or on the inside of that gate, allowing drivers to check themselves in. Now, the automatic gate system, probably don't have to spell this out for you. You see it there on the screen, but instead of having two 24/7 employees who are, let's be honest, on their phone a lot of the day, you could reallocate that talent, $394,000 in savings per year. And that's just for 2 employees. If you got 3 gates, it's going to be triple that. So once the trailer's in the yard, of course, it's got to be moved. And so effective yard management systems will provide the opportunity to move and communicate with drivers in both scenarios, a drop and hook kind of yard or a drop scenario, as well as live load scenarios. So for drop scenarios, this means interfacing with some sort of device that a yard jockey, shunter, yard dog, whatever you like to call them, is able to access right in the cab of their vehicle, right? And that should really be something that's easy. I'm talking buttons on a screen where they can just move a trailer very effectively and tell the system what they're doing. I'm starting a move, I'm completing a move. But in live load scenarios, they're probably not using your system. So best in breed yard management systems will provide a way to communicate with live loads, with carrier drivers or otherwise, through SMS text message. Tell them, hey, your dock door is available, right? So they can advance without you having to walk out into the yard and talk to them. And this is a nice segue into dock scheduling. We talked about appointments, and while appointments allow for planning on the time axis, dock scheduling adds location to that, right? So now you can schedule both in terms of time as well as specifically what dock door. And this is critical for operations looking to really prioritize not just effective where trailers are going, but when they arrive, where are they going? Tracking dwell, tracking loading and unloading, safety procedures, and this provides probably the second best, or perhaps for some operations, the best opportunity for integration as well. Integrating with that WMS system to communicate when trailers are loaded or unloaded. And then finally, we talked yard checks a little bit, but these really need to get simple and fast, right? The reality is that human error exists, so when you have to do yard checks, it needs to be easy. Right on a tablet, reduce the need for going back into the office, putting that into an external system. That's going to at least cut yard checks in half as far as time goes. All right, let's talk about this last one, visibility and execution. Now, things happen in the yard. We had a company, a steel manufacturer, who before bringing on a YMS, unfortunately, they mixed up a finished material, finished product trailer with their scrap trailer. And they sent about $220,000 worth of finished product to the scrap yard. We can probably all chuckle about that and laugh now, but we've probably all been in similar situations. The reality is that if they had had a solution that provides visibility, totally avoidable, those kinds of service failure costs. Visibility takes many shapes, but it really needs to tie all of these systems, all of these functional areas into one place. And really the best way to do that is a visual map, right? A map, a bird's eye view of where trailers are that's updated in real time as live loads come in, as they're processed at the docks, as jockey drivers accept, start, complete their moves, and as, of course, trailers are checked in and checked out. Not only can operations see what's happening instantly on a map like this, but they can intervene when needed. They can expedite loads, right? They can do things. It's dynamic. For example, we had a customer using alerts and notifications. They realized they did not need 30 leased trailers on their yard. It's not magic. They were able to look at the map and go, hey, 30 of them are purple. Turns out we haven't used those in a month, right? That's $180,000 instantly saved per year. I call it the iceberg effect, right? An operation probably knows that they have issues. Any operation could tell you, yeah, of course, we got some inefficiencies. It's going to be here, there, wherever. What they don't know is what those are causing down the line, right? The 20% you can see versus the 80% you can't. And this is also why the yard produces such an opportunity for savings. Small tweaks have enormous impact down the line. All right, so I'm going to conclude here. I want to thank you all for coming. Effective yard management is the key to supply chain success. If today's shipping yards are still run on spreadsheets, radios, phone calls, blood, sweat, and tears, you're going to have significant issues. It's a huge risk. It's a huge danger area. But by prioritizing yard management, you can unlock not only incredible monetary and time savings, but the key to supply chain success. Thank you all. Appreciate your time.